Hi folks, HR Funk here. With an out-of-schedule video release, and if you've been watching my channel for any amount of time, you know that when I release a video outside the normal production schedule, it's because I have something special to show you. And that's absolutely the case today. I have a real treat, especially for you Wheelgun fans out there. This is a gorgeous nickeled Model 19 2.5-inch Smith & Wesson revolver, and in this video I'm going to give you a close-up look at this revolver, and we're going to head out to the range and very carefully fire a few shots out of it. So here we go. As promised, here is that first close-up look at this nickeled 2.5-inch Smith & Wesson Model 19, and this is of the old school variety. You can see the barrel is pinned, and also this has the recessed cylinders, which I'll show you momentarily. The hammer nose is present, and all of the various things that we associate with earlier Smith & Wesson revolvers are present here. This is actually a Smith & Wesson Model 19-4 that was manufactured in 1980. And as I work my way through this review, I want to point out a few of the things that have changed over the years, and as I said, you can already see a couple of them here. Here's a look at the starboard side of this fine wheel gun, and we can see the large Smith & Wesson trademark here. We can also see that this particular revolver is set off with a nice set of wood hoe grips, and I should probably point out this does not belong to me. This actually belongs to friend of the channel Loves Dogs 1954, and this revolver needed just a little bit of TLC, and I thought while I had it here I would show it to all of you and at least give you a chance to ooh and ah over it, since I've been doing that ever since it's been here in the shop. We'll start our top-down look at this classic revolver with the sights, and this is something else that has changed over the years. This has the old squared-off style rear sight that you see. Nowadays this is rounded, and actually the screw right here has been moved to a slightly different location. There is no red ramp on the integral front sight here, and there's no white outline on the rear. But this would be your sight picture. Once I get the front sight in focus, if I can get the front sight in focus. That would be your sight picture if you were firing this revolver out on the range. We can also see the right side of the barrel has the full name of the 357 Magnum cartridge, that being the Smith & Wesson 357 Magnum. Another thing that's different on the revolvers made today is the frame stud right here. Nowadays, this is actually a shelf on the frame that extends down around the bottom of the cylinder. The purpose of both of them is to keep the cylinder from coming back off of the revolver when it is open just like this. And as long as I have it opened up, I will show you the recessed cylinder right there. As I said, this was manufactured in 1980, and that was toward the end of the production of the pinned and recessed Smith & Wesson revolvers, but this one still has both characteristics. And actually, I don't think the nickel finish on the revolvers went much beyond 1980, now that I think about it. This has the old style thumb piece for the cylinder release, and certainly no hole for any sort of a lock. As I said, it does have the hammer nose present. That's something else we don't see anymore, since nowadays there is the internal firing pin inside the top portion of the frame there. There's no ball and detent lockup or anything like that. We see that locking point in the front of the barrel, or I should say in the front of the barrel lug, and this is a half lug. If this were a 4-inch model, this would be just a touch longer, because one of the issues with the 2.5-inch Model 19 is it used a shorter extractor rod. So with full-length 357 Magnum cases, sometimes they didn't want to come quite all the way out, but with the 4-inch model with the full-length extractor rod, that was not so much a concern. This revolver has the grooved service style trigger that you see right there to help get a little bit better texture for your trigger finger. And of course the trigger quality is classic Smith & Wesson. This is a very smooth, very nice double action. And the single action on these older Smith & Wesson revolvers is phenomenal. That's going to do it for the shop review, folks. Now I'm out here on the range to do a little bit of shooting with this gorgeous Model 19 and see how it's going to perform. And my pre-shooting prediction is it's going to be just as effective in 2025 as it was when it left the factory in 1980. But I'm not going to do a lot of shooting with this revolver, and the shooting I do is going to be with 38 special ammunition because, as I said before, this does not belong to me and I'm not going to take any chances of doing any damage to it. In any case, we're going to start shooting some defensive drills here in just a moment. First up is going to be controlled pairs from a distance of 5 yards. Let's see how it does. Shoots just as good as it looks, folks. On we go to some 7-yard failure drills. This is 2 shots to the body and 1 shot to the head to simulate the first 2 shots failing to stop the hostile aggressor and the final 3rd shot being necessary in order to eliminate the threat. Let's see what happens here. I think the threat was eliminated. Let's try one more. I don't think there's any more threat that time either. On we go to 5 body shots from a distance of 15 yards. Let's see what happens here. They all look pretty good on this end. Got to walk around range to see where they hit. Those shots hit a little low and left from that distance of 15 yards, but I have no idea what ammunition the sights were zeroed for, and they are not set for me. As I said, I don't own this revolver, so this could just be a symptom of it not being set up the way I would do it if it were mine. In any case, I don't think our bad guy's right lung is going to be working nearly as well now as it did before I started shooting, but I'm going to back to 25 yards and we'll see what happens from there. Okay, folks, 3 shots from 25 yards. I'm going to intentionally hold these a little bit high and to the right to see if that compensates for that issue I was having at 15 yards. So if these all hit high and to the right, we'll know that it was me and not the sights or the ammunition. Got to head down range and see where they hit. So I'm going to say yes, this is the sights not being set for me and the ammunition. I was holding up here near the shoulder and I've got those shots hitting down here, so very, very consistently going low and to the left for me. And I think this would just be a matter of quickly adjusting the sights and everything would be fine. Now, it's the moment of truth. Knowing this, we're going to have to find out if this beautiful nickel 2.5-inch Smith & Wesson Model 19 is a 7-yard tack driver. And here we go. I've got 3 rounds loaded into the revolver. I've got a tack in the target. I'm backed off to a distance of 7 yards. Let's see what happens. Low and to the left. And I was holding slightly high and to the right, just not far enough. Got the elevation right that time, but I was a little too far to the right. And just so you know, I can't see the tack at all. All I can see is a white portion of the target. So let's try this one more time. And no, it's not going to be a 7-yard tack driver. And that's a heartbreaker, folks. I was really hoping to drive the tack with that, but with the sights as they are, it's just making it a little bit too difficult. So tack driver or not, it was still a wonderful experience to shoot this beautiful, beautiful revolver. I want to say thanks again to Loves Dogs 1954 for allowing me to shoot it. I hope all of you enjoyed this special out of schedule video, and that's going to do it for today. If you have any questions or comments, as always, make sure you forward those to me. Remember, stop by my website, hrfunk.com, check out the news and information page, see all the latest things going on with me and the channel, and go by the products page because a lot of the products I've reviewed on the channel have links on that page, and there's information beneath some of those links that'll save you some money if you decide to make a purchase. See you next time, folks. And until then, hopefully with a gorgeous wheel gun, good shooting. Bye-bye.